Yes, hello, good morning, all of you. So, today is in another session where we try to cover the concepts of basically, we entered into a third chapter. So, in the previous classes, we have discussed about concepts of control structures, if and while statements, and using of a for loop. Okay, and we have also seen the variations of for loop in the last class, and we have also covered some programming sessions. Okay, so two programming sessions we have completed, so where I have discussed about all the 10 programs. Okay, so basically you have 35 programs in lab cycle, so we have discussed about nearly 10 programs. Okay, so all you practice those programs, and with that we conclude second chapter. Okay, so now we are entering into the third chapter today. So basically third chapter is what deals with data structures like list, dictionaries, tuples. Okay, so all these things we are dealing with third chapter. Okay, see, basically these data structures are very much useful when we have a huge amount of data. So at that particular time we use these kind of data structures. Okay, so there are so many things, so many data structures like list, tuples, sequence, okay, and dictionaries. So all these things we have already covered, or already we have some idea regarding these things, because we discussed the basics of these data structures in the first chapter. Okay, so in the first chapter itself we discussed so many things like list and what are the functions that we use in list. So I'll just recall you, like insert, update, append. Okay, so these are the functions we can use on a list. And then we discussed about sequences, okay, and tuples. So there are so many different data structures like this. So basically these data structures used in databases, like when we have a company or when we have a store where we have to maintain a huge amount of data. Okay, or any organization like college is having some college is something like organization where we have to collect the data regarding all the students, right? So basically we require a huge amount of data. So when we have a huge amount of these kind of data, to process these things we try to store these data in some list and tuples. Okay, and then if you want to apply some programming on that, we can use Python. Okay, so thereby we can process that data very easily. Okay, that is what the basic intention of why we are using these data structures, especially in organizations. Okay, and especially while using Python. So these data structures are very much useful to handle huge amount of data, large data. Okay, so first of all we convert our data into some list, and then we'll try to process it by applying some functions on that. Okay, so in this regard, so this chapter mainly deals with list, tuples, dictionaries. Okay, and what are the functions that we can use on that. So all these basic things we can try to learn in this particular chapter. Okay, so without delaying the time, without delaying, I'll just start with what are the contents that we are going to cover today. Okay, especially in this session, so we are going to cover about the basic definition of a list, and then what are its uses. Then we have a list literals, then basic operators that we use on list. Okay, so because by using list we do so many things, that means there are so many functions that we can apply on that. There are so many operators are there which can be applied on the list, right? So we can do a lot of things on this, but we need to understand step by step. Okay, already we have some knowledge regarding list. Basically list is a collection of different types of data. Okay, and especially these data items are enclosed in between square brackets. So this is the thing we learned in first chapter. So what is a basic list is, okay, So again we'll brush up all these concepts, and then we try to apply so many operators on that, and we try to learn about some different things that we can do with the list, right? So let's start with the definition of a list. So list is basically the sequence of data values called items or elements. Okay, and the data items can be of any type. There is nothing rule that this contains only integers or floats or strings like this. Suppose arrays concept is there. Array is nothing but what? Array is a collection of similar data types. We can store only integers. Suppose integer array, if we consider integer array, we store only integer values in that. If you consider the float array, we store only the float values in that particular array. Okay, but here the list is a kind of a thing where we can store all different kinds of data. We can store integers, floats, strings, right? So all different kinds of data, they can be stored in a single list separated by commas. Okay, so how can we separate the values in the list? Is nothing but comma. We have to provide the comma after each and every value. So let us suppose we have a small list which we store some values. Suppose I want to store a value 10 comma 20.5 comma ABC. Okay, so orally I am just telling you that we have three values. So first value is integer, second value is a float, the third value is a string. Okay, so basically what I am doing is I am storing all the different kinds of data in a single list. Okay, so that is the thing here. List is nothing but it is a collection of all the different types of data, and these data values are called as items or elements. So we have some list of applications or where these list can be used. Okay, so there are so many things. List is generally suppose we need to go for a grocery store to buy some items. What we do first, we try to prepare a list, the list of items what we need to buy when we go to the store, right? So that is also a list. Okay, because we prepare some list of all the grocery items. So what we do is we'll check each and everything. Okay, whether we have taken that item in our basket or not. Okay, so a shopping list for the grocery store or a to-do list. That means some people will plan to do some things, to do some specific actions in a day. Okay, so generally most of the people, as Indians, we don't do these things, but some people they do some, they have some list of items or list of actions to be performed in a day. Okay, so they get up early in the morning and then they will do something. Okay, so they go for a morning walk, and then they come back and have some cup of tea or a lemon tea. So like they'll have some set of actions to do. Okay, so that is also a list. Next, a roster for an athletic team. Okay, roster in the sense what are the schedule of the team. That means suppose IPL is going to happen, so there is a schedule, right? Like which team has to play with which team on which date. So that is also a list. Next, a guest list for a wedding. If you want to plan for a wedding, okay, we need to prepare a guest of list of guests. Okay, so next, when you want to prepare a recipe, again there is also that is also a list. What are the things you need to do for having a good recipe, right? So a lot of things, all these comes under list. The words in a dictionary, names in a phone book. Okay, all these things, everything is a list. So we have so many things in a list. Okay, and all these list, all these data items in the list, it's not mandatory that all these data values are of similar type. Sometimes we use names, sometimes we use values, sometimes we use integer values, float values. Okay, so like it's a combination of all the different items or all the different values. Okay, suppose that I want to prepare a uh, list for a company. Okay, or otherwise if you take a database of any company, so there are some huge amount of data, or otherwise simply we can take an example of a student record. Okay, so what basically student record contains so many different values. His name, okay, name is in a string format, and then his roll number. Roll number is a mix of strings and mixed of alphabets and numbers, and then his aggregate. Okay, so the aggregate is in float numbers, right? So basically when we take a student data, so a normal student can contain so many different kinds of data. It is not like that a student have all the integer values, okay, and all the strings values. So it is a combination of thing. So that is also can be treated as a list. Okay, a student record can be treated as a list here, right? So that's why I am saying that lists are very important, or these data structures, whatever we are going to learn in this chapter, especially list, tuples, dictionaries, all these are very very important while we are dealing with the real-time problems. Okay, suppose I want to know that how many students in KHIT who have aggregate more than 65%. Okay, when they come to fourth year. Okay, so while they are going to appear for the campus placements, so we need to calculate, we need to check out who are the students who are having more than 60% or more than 70% aggregate. Okay, so what we do is we can simply write a small Python program where we will give this student database, okay, or the data that we have in Excel format, that will be given to particular program, Python program. So then automatically it will display all the students which are having the aggregate more than 60 or 70%. Okay, so it is very easy, right? So if you write a small program for this, so simply it will try to make our things very easy. Okay, so similarly in companies also we try to use these kind of things. Okay, so that here what I'm telling you is I'm just trying to tell you what is the importance of this list. Okay, or what is the importance of these data structures, especially in Python. Okay, so like this we can process our data, right? So let's start with how can we use these lists, and how can we declare all these things, we can learn one by one. Okay, some basic information already we have learned in the first chapter, so I'm not again covering those things. So we'll try directly. Declaration is already we know that, right? So anything which is enclosed between square brackets, we can treat it as a list. Okay, so declaration is done, we know that. Suppose x is equal to square brackets 1 2 3 4, it is a list. Okay, no need to specify that it is a list. Whenever there is some variable x is equal to square brackets and then we have some elements in that, obviously it becomes a list. So the thing is here, all the things which are enclosed between the square brackets we treat as a list. Okay, so that is a basic definition and syntax for writing the list. Okay, already we know that, already we have covered this thing in your first chapter. Okay, so that's why I'm not concentrating on that. But again, still if you have any doubt regarding this, we can simply see this. Okay, so this the first one. What is the first one? Here's an example: 1951, 1969, 1984. So basically, when we see this, we can able to say that okay, this is a list of years. Okay, so this is an year. 1951 is a year. 69 is a year. So basically, we can say a list of integers, right? So a list of integers. Simply, square bracket is should be mentioned. So that's what he has written in this slide. A list is written as a sequence of data values separated by commas. Okay, and And how can we define the list is writing something in between the square brackets. Okay, so writing something in between the square brackets, obviously it becomes a list. The first one is a list of integers. What is second one? Apples, oranges and cherries. It is a list of strings. Apple is a string, orange is a string, cherries is a string. What we did is we enclosed these three different strings in a square bracket. So when we enclose it in between the square brackets, it obviously becomes a list. Okay. Next, the next one is empty list. So when you have declared square brackets, but you didn't mention anything in between that square brackets, obviously it becomes a empty list. There is nothing in that list, right? So next we have see, this is somewhat different. So see here, 5 comma 9, it is a list, comma 541 comma 78, it is another list, and these two lists are enclosed in between an outer list. Okay, so this is called a list of list. A list contains two sublists. Okay, so this can also be done. We can also process these kind of data values also. Okay, a list of list, that means we need to specify uh, different list in square brackets. Okay, so we can see that there are two sublists in a list. Generally there is a list, in that we have two sublists. What is the first sublist is 5 comma 9, second sublist is 541 comma 78, right? So this can it is called as a list of list. Next, okay, now we'll directly go with manipulating or working on these particular data items. So you see here there is something list literal. Okay, there is something like list literal. Like what I am doing is I am not directly declaring the list. Okay, I am not giving the values directly as a list, but what I am doing is I am taking x is equal to 2 and I am creating a list based on the x value. Okay, I am not directly giving the 2 comma something, 2 comma 3 or 3 comma 4. I am not giving that. So what I am doing, I am taking a value in a variable x. Then what I am doing is I am creating a list based on this x. Okay, so this is called as a literal string, Python list literal it is called as. So here we can use a math function like this, import math x is equal to 2. Okay, then what I am doing is square brackets. When I am defining something in square bracket, it directly means that it is a list, and in this list we need to give the values basically, but I am not giving the values here. I am giving x comma math dot sqrt of x. So basically what is x? Already we have taken x is equal to 2, right? So at this x place 2 will be substituted, comma math dot square root of x. Okay, so obviously square root of 2, that will be taken in the consideration. So this list becomes what? 2 comma 1.414 something, this number. Okay, so what I am doing here is I am not directly giving the values in the list. I am using some literals. Literal is nothing but a statement. Okay, so instead of directly giving the values, I am giving that in the form of a literals, x comma math dot sqrt of x. So what is x here? X already we have taken as 2, so that will be substituted directly. Okay, so these kind of things are called as a string literal, Python list literals. So when we can also check here, so spider IDE, so I'll just try to open a new file and then we'll try to do this program. Okay, so we'll try to do this program. So first of all, there is a statement called import math, that is a function, and I have taken the value x is equal to 2. Okay, then I am creating a list Here I am giving x comma math dot sqrt of x. Okay, so when I do this, so let's check what will be the output when I execute this statement. Okay, see here all of you. So obviously x ప్లేస్లో 2 సబ్స్టిట్యూట్ అయిపోయింది. అలాగే మ్యాథ్ డాట్ ఎస్క్యూఆర్టీ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్ అంటే స్క్వేర్ రూట్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్ కనుక్కుంటున్నాం ఇక్కడ. సో ఆ స్క్వేర్ రూట్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్ అనేది ఇక్కడ రీప్లేస్ అయిపోయింది. సో మనం ఏం చేస్తున్నాం, మనం డైరెక్ట్గా వాల్యూస్ ఇవ్వకుండా ఇలా రాస్తున్నాం. ఓకే, ఇది జనరల్గా అసలు ఇలా ఎందుకు, నార్మల్గా వాల్యూస్ ఇవ్వచ్చు కదా, ఇవ్వచ్చు. ఓకే, సపోజ్ 3 కామా 1.435 ఇలా కూడా ఇవ్వచ్చు. Okay, but instead of giving these values directly, what I am doing, I am replacing that with a literals. Okay, literal is nothing but a statement. So వీటిని మనం లిస్ట్ లిటరల్స్ అని చెప్పి అంటారు. ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్ అండ్ స్ట్రింగ్స్ మీద like lists, we can apply range function also on the list. Okay, and you can see something interesting here. You can also build a list of integers using the range and list functions. Okay, see basically I'll show you something here. First is equal to, I want to create a list. So how can I create a list? By using a square bracket. So 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. So this is a list. Okay, so there is no doubt that this is a list. How I have created this list? Is I am taking a variable first, then I am using a equal to symbol, then I am opening a square bracket and I am giving some values in that. Okay, so this is one way of doing a creating a list. Okay, this is the one way of creating a list. There is another way of creating a list. That is what he mentioned in the slide. What is that is, he said that we can use a function, list function is there. Okay, in Python there is a function called list and range. So by using both these functions we can create a list. Okay, so basically how we can create a list? Generally we need to give a variable first and then equal to, and then we need to open the square brackets and then we have to give the values. Okay, but instead of doing all these things, he is saying that Python is having a concept called combination of both the list and range function can also create a list. Okay, so I'll show you here. Second is equal to, there is a function called list, and then in that I am using another function called range, and then I am giving the value. Okay, I am giving the arguments. So what is the meaning of this is, I am going to create a list with the range. That means what are the values that should be stored in that list is 1 to 5. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5, those are the things I need to store in this particular list. Okay, so obviously what is the meaning of this is, it will create second is equal to bracket 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5. Okay, so both are same. Either I can directly give these values by using a variable in this fashion, or otherwise I can use a function called list and range. Combination of both these functions can be used to create a list. Okay, so I'll just make it this as a comment and try to execute both above statements. First of all, I try to execute this first one. Okay, so when this is executed, obviously 1 2 3 4 is the list. There is nothing to do here. Otherwise I'll just try to print the values, you can understand better. So first of all I'm printing first. Okay, and again I try to print second also. So what is first? When I try to execute this print of first, what it will execute? It will give the values which are stored in this variable first. Okay, what are the values that are stored in this first? First is actually a list. Why we are calling it as a list is because the values are enclosed between the double quotation, square brackets. So that's why it is called as a list. And simply we are printing all the elements of that list. Okay. Now this thing you will try to observe this thing. So I am trying to executing the second one. Okay, executed. Now you try to print the values of this. See here. So when I try to print second, what is second variable contains? Second variable contains a list of values from 1 to 5. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, ma. So both are same, and this thing I have written something. Second is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this statement and this statement both are same. Either I can create a list in this way, or I can create a list in this way. Okay, so that is the point you need to observe here. Hope you understood. Okay, next. Right, so that is what in this example I'll try to show here. The same thing I have shown in this spider ID. Okay, now we'll try to do some more things on the list. Okay, so obviously when I try to find the length of the list. Okay, so already we have two lists. One is first and second, next one is second. So I'll try to find what is the length of the first list. Okay, length of the first list. When I try to execute this statement, it will print how many numbers are there in that particular list, or how many data items are there in that particular list. Okay, so it is displaying 4. Obviously we have 4 values in this, so that's why it is displaying 4. Okay, so that is what that is something learning about the length. Okay, now first of 0, what is first of 0? First of 0 in the sense what? There are 4 elements in this particular list, so index starts with 0. Any list or tuples or dictionaries, index always starts with 0. So at 0th index 1 is stored, the first index value 2 is stored, second index value 3 is stored, third index value 4 is stored. So when I want to or when I execute this statement, first of 0, so first of 0, when I execute this first of 0, obviously it is, sorry, I have a small syntax. Okay, I need to give this square bracket here like we use in arrays, right? So arrays లో యూస్ చేసినట్టుగా ఇక్కడ స్క్వేర్ బ్రాకెట్ ఇవ్వాలి. సో ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ 0. So when I get this first of 0, so what it is printed is 1, because at 0th index 1 is stored in the list called first. Okay, similarly we can use this subscript to find some particular element. Suppose I want to print first of 2:4. Okay, 2:4 in the sense what? It is trying to display the values in between 2 to 4. Okay, so what are the values in between 2 to 4? 3 comma 4. Here you need to observe this. Whenever we are using this subscript, the initial value will not be printed. Okay, like in range function, the last value will not be printed. Here in the subscript, initial value will not be printed. When I execute this statement, okay, answer is 3 comma 4. Okay, so I want to print from 2 to 4. Basically I want to print from 2 to 4. We thought that it is printed 2 3 4, because 2 to 4 in the sense 2 and 3 and 4 will be printed, but uh, you see the output, only 3 comma 4 is printed. Okay, that means it is a convention. Okay, it is a convention, we have that in Python, especially when we are using a subscript like this, the initial value will not be printed. Okay, the value after that initial value will be printed. So 2 will not be printed, then 3 comma 4 will be printed. లైక్ మన రేంజ్ ఫంక్షన్లో 1,6 అని వాడినప్పుడు, ఇక్కడ చూడండి 1,6 అని వాడినప్పుడు 6 ప్రింట్ అవ్వదు, 1 2 3 4 5 మాత్రమే ప్రింట్ అవుతాయి. అలాగే ఇక్కడ ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ 2,4 అంటే దీన్ని స్లైసింగ్ అంటారు. అంటే అరేస్లో లైక్ ఈ లిస్ట్లో ఉన్న కొన్ని ఎలిమెంట్స్ని మీరు బయటికి తీసుకురావాలి అనుకున్నప్పుడు మనం దీన్ని స్లైసింగ్ అంటారు. ఇక్కడ వీడి అర్థం ఏంటంటే 2 to 4 అంటున్నాడు, అంటే 2 నుంచి 4 దాకా వాల్యూస్ ప్రింట్ అవ్వాలి అని చెప్పి అంటున్నాడు. కానీ 2 అనేది ప్రింట్ అవ్వదు. ఎందుకు అవ్వదు అంటే అది ప్రోగ్రామ్ యొక్క రూల్, అది సింటాక్స్ అలా వాళ్ళు డిజైన్ చేశారు. మరి ఇక్కడ రేంజ్ ఫంక్షన్లో 1,6 అంటున్నాము, మరి 6 ఎందుకు ప్రింట్ అవ్వదు సార్, ఓన్లీ 1 2 3 4 5 మాత్రమే ఎందుకు ప్రింట్ అవుతాయి అంటే, బికాజ్ ఇట్ ఇస్ ద సింటాక్స్ ఆఫ్ దట్, ఇట్ ఈస్ ద డెఫినేషన్ ఆఫ్ దట్ ఫంక్షన్. ఓకే, ఆ ఫంక్షన్ వాళ్ళు డిజైన్ చేశారు, మనకు అలానే ప్రింట్ అవుతుంది. సిమిలర్లీ హియర్ ఆల్సో ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ 2 is to 4 అంటే ఇట్ విల్ ప్రింట్ ఓన్లీ 2 to 4 అంటే 3 4 వాల్యూస్, అంటే ఈ వాల్యూస్ మాత్రమే ప్రింట్ అవుతాయి. ద ఇనీషియల్ ఇండెక్స్ని వాళ్ళు కన్సిడర్ చేయట్లేదు. ఓకే, సో ఇలాంటి కొన్ని కన్వెన్షన్స్ ఉన్నాయన్నమాట మనకి, రైట్? సో దిస్ ఈజ్ వన్ ఆఫ్ ద థింగ్ యూ నీడ్ టు అబ్జర్వ్. ఓకే, సో యూజింగ్ లెంత్ అండ్ సబ్స్క్రిప్ట్. నెక్స్ట్ కంకాటినేషన్. కంకాటినేషన్ అంటే రెండు లిస్ట్ని కలపచ్చు. ఓకే, సో ఇక్కడ చూడండి, అగైన్ ఐ షో యూ హియర్. సో ఫస్ట్ అనేది ఒక లిస్ట్ ఆల్రెడీ, దానికి నేను ప్లస్ అని చెప్పి ఇంకో లిస్ట్ని యాడ్ చేస్తాను. సో దిస్ టైమ్ ఐఎమ్ గివింగ్ సమ్ 7 8 7 8 9. ఓకే, వాట్ ఈజ్ ఆల్రెడీ ఫస్ట్ అనే దాంట్లో ఏమున్నాయి, దెర్ ఆర్ 4 ఎలిమెంట్స్ 1 2 3 4, అండ్ వాట్ ఐఎమ్ డూయింగ్ ఈజ్ ప్లస్ అని యాడ్ చేస్తే, దీనికి ప్లస్ అంటే మీనింగ్ ఏంటి, 7 + 1 2 8 + 2 9 + 3 కాదు. ఓకే, హియర్ ఈ లిస్ట్కి ఈ లిస్ట్ యాడ్ అవుతుంది, అంటే మొత్తం కలిపి 1 2 3 4 7 8 9 అని చెప్పి ప్రింట్ అవుతుంది. ఓకే, సో దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ ద కంకాటినేషన్. సో కంకాటినేషన్ చేయడానికి మనం ఏం సింబల్ వాడుతున్నాము, ప్లస్ సింబల్. సో వీఆర్ యూజింగ్ ఏ ప్లస్ సింబల్ ఫర్ ద concatenation. Then see here. So when I execute this statement, I am getting an output 1 2 3 4 7 8 9. Okay, so this is how we can concatenate the values. Next, ఈక్వాలిటీ కూడా చెక్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. ఇప్పుడు ఫస్ట్ ఈజ్ ఈక్వల్ టు సెకండ్ అన్నాడు, ఆల్రెడీ ఫస్ట్ అనే దాంట్లో ఏమేమి వాల్యూస్ ఉన్నాయి, 1 2 3 4 ఉన్నాయి. సెకండ్ అనే దాంట్లో ఏమున్నాయి, సెకండ్ అనే దాంట్లో మనం ఇక్కడ ఏం క్రియేట్ చేసాము, 1 2 3 4 5 ఉన్నాయి. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు మన రెండు ఈక్వలేనా, ఫస్ట్ ఈజ్ ఈక్వల్ టు సెకండ్. ఐఎమ్ రైటింగ్ ఎ స్టేట్మెంట్ లైక్ దిస్, ఐ షుడ్ గెట్ ఫాల్స్. Okay, when I execute this statement, I should get false. Right, false. ఎందుకు ఫాల్స్ వచ్చింది అంటే, ఫస్ట్ అనే దాంట్లో ఏమేమి ఉన్నాయి వాల్యూస్, ఇక్కడ చూడండి. ఫస్ట్ అనే దాన్ని ఇప్పుడు మోడిఫై చేసాం కదా మనం. ఫస్ట్ అనే దాంట్లో 1 2 3 4 7 8 9 ఉన్నాయి. సెకండ్ అనే దాంట్లో ఏమున్నాయి, 1 2 3 4 5 మాత్రమే ఉన్నాయి. ఓకే, సో ఇక్కడ మోడిఫై చేసాం, ఫస్ట్ అనే దాన్ని మోడిఫై చేసాం కాబట్టి ఇది కూడా యాడ్ అయ్యి మొత్తం ఫస్ట్ కంటైన్స్ దీస్ ఎలిమెంట్స్, second list contains only 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, obviously both are not equal. Okay, you can check other also. Sorry, ఇప్పుడు మీకు ఈక్వల్ ట్రూ చూపిస్తాను, ఈక్వల్ చేసి. సో 1 2 3 4, దిస్ ఈజ్ x. ఓకే, ఇది ఒక లిస్ట్. అగైన్ ఐఎమ్ గివింగ్ y ఈజ్ ఈక్వల్ టు గివింగ్ ద సేమ్ వాల్యూస్ 1 2 3 4. Okay, so now I'll try to check x is equal to y. Obviously it will give true. So this is how we can check the equality of the list. Okay, next, see here, so the print function also can be used to print the list. Okay, లిస్ట్ ని ప్రింట్ చేయడానికి మనం ఇలా ప్రింట్ అనే ఫంక్షన్లో డైరెక్ట్గా వాల్యూస్ కూడా ఇవ్వచ్చు. సో ద ప్రింట్ ఫంక్షన్ స్ట్రిప్స్ ద కొటేషన్ మార్క్స్ ఫ్రమ్ ఏ స్ట్రింగ్ బట్ డస్ నాట్ ఆల్టర్ ద లుక్ ఆఫ్ ద లిస్ట్. ఓకే, సో మనకి ఇప్పుడు ప్రింట్ ఆఫ్ 1, 2, 3, 4 అనగానే ఈ కామాస్ కూడా అలాగే ప్రింట్ అవుతాయి. వీడేమన్నాడంటే కామాస్ లేకుండా ప్రింట్ అవ్వాలంటే ఏం చేయాలి అంటాడు. ఓకే, కామాస్ లేకుండా ప్రింట్ అవ్వాలి అంటే డెఫినెట్గా మనం ఫర్ లూప్ యూజ్ చేసుకోవాలి. ఓకే, జనరల్గా మనం ఇక్కడ కూడా మనం ఈ ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్లో చూసినప్పుడు ఇక్కడ చూడండి అవుట్పుట్లో కూడా మనకి కామాస్ వస్తున్నాయి 1, 2, 3, 4 అన్నీ. ఓకే, బట్ వాట్ ఈస్ ద రిక్వైర్మెంట్ హియర్ ఈస్ ఐ డోంట్ వాంట్ టు ప్రింట్ దిస్ కామాస్ లేకుండా రావాలి వాల్యూస్ అన్నీ కూడా. ఓకే, అవుట్పుట్లో లిస్ట్లో ఉన్న ఎలిమెంట్స్కి కామాస్ లేకుండా రావాలి. అలా రావాలి అంటే వీ హ్యావ్ టు యూజ్ ఏ ఫర్ లూప్. ఓకే, సో ఫర్ లూప్ వాడుకుంటే మనకి కామాస్ లేకుండా వస్తాయి. ఓకే, సపోజ్ ఆల్రెడీ ఐ హ్యావ్ ఎన్ ఎక్స్ కదా, సో ఫర్ ఎక్స్ ఇన్ దెన్ సమ్ లిస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఎలిమెంట్స్ 5, 6, 7, 8. Then I want to print x comma end in the sense what it is a parameter. సో ఎండింగ్లో స్పేసెస్ ఉండాలి. అక్కడ కామా ఉంది కదా, మనం అది కామా తీసేసి స్పేసెస్ పెట్టుకుంటాం. ఓకే, I want to just print the space. Okay, then obviously when I execute this statement 5, 6, 7, 8 అని ప్రింట్ అవుతుంది, కామాస్ ఉండవు. See here. Okay, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or otherwise if I want to give some space here, then again try to execute. Let's see what is the output. See here, ఇక్కడ లోపల స్పేస్ ఇచ్చాను కాబట్టి ఇక్కడ ఒక్కొక్క వాల్యూకి కొంచెం స్పేస్ వస్తుంది. సో 5 తర్వాత 6 కొంచెం దూరంలో, అలాగే 6, 7 కొంచెం దూరంలో, అలాగే 8 కొంచెం దూరంలో అలాగే ప్రింట్ అవుతుంది. ఓకేనా? ఆర్ ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ హైఫన్ పెట్టుకోవాలనుకున్నారు మీరు. ఓకే, లెట్స్ సీ when I execute this statement again. Okay, 5, 6, 7, 8 హైఫన్స్ వస్తాయి, రైట్? సో దట్ ఈస్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఏ ప్రింట్ ఫంక్షన్లో మనం వాడచ్చు అనమాట. ఎండ్ పారామీటర్ అనేది ప్రింట్ ఫంక్షన్లో వాడుకోవచ్చు ఇలా. ఓకే, రైట్. నెక్స్ట్ ఫైనలీ whether any element is present in that list or not, what we use an operator is in operator. అంటే ఈ లిస్టులో ఈ వాల్యూ ఉందా లేదా అని చెక్ చేయడానికి ఇన్ ఆపరేటర్ యూజ్ చేస్తాం. సపోజ్ 3 in 1, 2, 3 అన్నాడు అంటే 3 అనేది 1, 2, 3 అనే లిస్ట్లో ఉందా లేదా. ఓకే, ఉంది కాబట్టి ట్రూ చూపిస్తుంది, లేకపోతే ఫాల్స్ చూపిస్తుంది, రైట్? సో ఇన్ ఆపరేటర్ యూజ్ చేస్తాం. ఆల్రెడీ మనం ఫర్ లూప్లో ఇన్ ఆపరేటర్ యూజ్ చేసాం. ఇక్కడ ఫర్ ఎక్స్ ఇన్ అన్నాము. వాట్ ఈస్ ద మీనింగ్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్? ఇన్ ఈజ్ నథింగ్ బట్ ప్రతి ఎక్స్ వాల్యూ అంటే 5 అనేది ఈ లిస్ట్లో ఉంటే దాన్ని ప్రింట్ చేయండి, 6 అనేది ఈ లిస్ట్లో ఉంటే దాన్ని ప్రింట్ చేయండి. సో ఫర్ ఎవ్రీ వాల్యూ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్ ఇన్ దిస్ లిస్ట్ ఐఎమ్ ప్రింటింగ్ దట్ వాల్యూ, రైట్? సో ఆల్రెడీ వీ హ్యావ్ యూజ్డ్ దిస్. సో ఇన్ ఈజ్ ద membership operator, right? So these are all some different kind of things we can apply on the list. So there is much more things we can do on the list. So slowly we try to learn all these things. Okay, and while learning this concept, you just recall the concepts that we have learned in the first chapter. That means how to insert an element in the list, how to update a value, okay, how to remove the value from the list. All these things I already covered in the first chapter. Those you recall again. Okay, so that's it for this session.